Okay, this is the July 11th meeting of the Executive Committee of the Raleigh Historic Development Commission. We have an agenda, we have a quorum, and staff is present, and all but one member of the Executive Committee are present at this time.
Great. It is the 8th, not the 11th.
Sorry, 8th?
That's okay. And Janine McAuliffe is in attendance, but she is off camera. Would you like for me to go through what I have on the list for the July 20th meeting?
Yeah. For Janine and Katie, we're real quick. We don't have a written agenda, so you're not missing anything. We're going to just rip through the kind of the task list we have normally, which will be a day earlier than this day when we get back to our normal situation, and we'll have something in writing. But today we're just going to wing through the list, and the meeting should not take too long.
All right. So we've got 2 rezoning cases, one on Hillsborough Street and one at 410 Morrison. Is there any information they need to know about that in advance, Colette?
I have definite confirmation that the Hillsborough Street applicants are ready to attend. I've talked to the rezoning case planner for the Morrison Street project, and the case planner is ready. Have not heard back from the applicant yet, so that's still a maybe at this point, but I think that he'll be ready.
Okay. I think since we'll probably just put it on there, and then if they can't show, we'll just say that. Okay. Let's see, there's really not a whole lot. There's going to be a really good update on the Lustron house. And so I'll move that up out of committee, Gaston, and let you report on that. You also, under discussion items, wanted to bring up the Seaboard Station. Sale. And at the beginning, and then of course there'll be the committee reports as usual. And then there's your new 1, 2, 3 that you want to do at the beginning. The topic this month will be the various names that our HDC has had over the years, but you might want to explain what your thing is.
Yeah.
I think it's awesome.
On the other 2 topics, we have a buyer for Lustron who appears to be serious, capable, and going to do it. We don't have a closing date yet. It's kind of complicated. The simple version is that the property is owned by the city. They have to transfer ownership in a simultaneous closing to our PNC, and PNC then does it simultaneously to the new buyer, and then the money flows, and the city gets paid back its money, PNC gets paid back its money, and our revolving fund gets paid back its money indirectly through the city. All's good so far. The neighbor we are communicating with the neighbor who was communicating with us frequently, and he seems to be very pleased with our progress and happy that we have a buyer. On the Seaboard, we just had information from one of our commission members that that was going through a review for potential sale, and we wanted to find out whether that sale envisions the eventual demolition of the old train station or preservation of the old train station that currently has no historic preservation overlays of any kind. And I think it would be a serious blow to the historical preservation of our city to allow a 1942 train station that troops went in and out of to war, people went to DC, people went all over the country, and it was the original train station as we know it before it was just a wood shack, to endanger it. So we're going to see if we can figure out a strategy to make sure that whatever happens to that property doesn't involve the demolition of that station. 1, 2, 3. I just had an idea that sometimes we wait a year or so to do training, we do intermittently, and 1, 2, 3 is one topic, 2 minutes, 3 slides. Those are the parameters. Whatever you can only cover one topic. You only have 2 minutes to cover it in, two minutes to cover it in, and you can't have more than 3 slides. So it's lightning learning. And the topic, it's just a good way to begin a meeting. It's better than tossing around a tennis ball. It's a good way to implant some information. The first topic is going to be our various names, and we already have the slide from the last retreat, so it will be easy just to say we've not always been the RHDC, blah, blah, blah. Another topic might be how many historic districts are there in our city or our jurisdiction, and what are they, and whatever, briefly describe what they are, stuff like that. That's it.
One thing I did forget to mention is that you'll be welcoming our new commissioners.
Yes.
And also I will give an update on the status of in-person meetings, which is pretty simple, which is starting, well, in July, COA is going in person already. So the July 22nd meeting of the COA committee will be in person. And starting in August, all other board and commission meetings will also be in person.
And we have one chairman who's Susan Singer has agreed to be the chairman of the research committee. Ian has too many pressures and various things and asked that he be just a member of that group. And Susan's agreed to it. She has alerted us that she has a travel schedule that requires her to be absent on some occasions, as many as 5 occasions. And I think we need to probably consider, at least for the time being, accepting her on the, and then deal with any problems that creates down the road.
Yeah. My question is, it wasn't clear to me if she meant that was for the executive committee meetings or the research committee meetings. Because in my email, I mentioned that she had to attend this too. So
would you mind following up with?
Yeah,
her?
I'll follow up with her.
Either way, I think we're going to have to ease out of this virtual meeting mode. We've all gotten very comfortable with it now, despite the fact that it's not the best way for humans to talk to each other. But it'll be we'll have some withdrawal symptoms we're going to have to deal with. So
absolutely, 100%. And
now that we have that selected, you can send us around the officers and committee list as revised. That'll be
yes. So I'll put it up on the online agenda as well, but I will send it around with the meeting reminder. Brief committee list.
So the new folks are Curtis Casefang, he's new and old again, and with the vote the other night of the city council, Sandy Feaster is on. So those are the 2 new ones to be greeted.
So there is one item that we wanted to just mention to the executive committee, but not yet put on it, but it's not ready to go on the commission agenda, and that's a rezoning case, Z4121, which is in the Prince Hall Historic Overlay District. And it is about a third of the block, maybe only a quarter of the block, at the corner of South Bloodworth and East Cabarrus Street. And the rezoning request is to remove the properties from the historic overlay district. So
interesting.
So we will have more information, but wanted to give you heads up.
I would say that will be an interesting discussion. As to the zoning cases for the meeting next on the reason I have my dates all confused, I have marginal notes. I'm traveling the week I'm supposed to chair the first meeting, so I'm just a little antsy about it. But of those 2 cases that are on the agenda for our business meeting, are they mild, medium, or spicy?
What do you consider medium?
Well, I mean, are they going to be fairly ordinary, or are they going to be somewhat like the Oberlin issue?
Well, the one on Morrison should be very mild. Probably even less than mild. The one on Hillsborough is one that was heard maybe in 2016, and they never followed through, but it has since expanded. It involves properties in the West Raleigh district.
All right, just curious.
I'd probably categorize that as medium.
Yeah.
And for those who are watching this video or whatever, mild, medium, and spicy is not an officially recognized city of Raleigh term for characterizing meeting topics. What else we have? What are y'all's concerns, individually or collectively, or just take a second and tell us what's on your mind that relates to our work together? Besides getting Aaron up too early. These meetings
I
are not
like-
at 7:30 the next time. They're gonna be at 7:45. And even that's
what I was gonna say. I like that. So
15 minutes makes a difference. That's a whole cup of coffee for me. It's always good to see Katie's can-do face. She always has a can-do.
Thank you. I know I'm like extra sleepy this morning, but I'm here. I'm curious, can someone give a little information or background about our new members? I'm just curious. You said Curtis has been on the commission
Right.
before.
he served a full 6-year term. Back, I think he was on when I first got to the city in 2007. So it was, anyway, around that time. And he also served on he was chair for a while. And I think he was also chair of the COA committee for a while as well. He has been on the Design Review Advisory Committee for several years now. And he's an Oakwoodian. He is a architectural theater consultant. I'm not sure exactly what he does, but something with
His origin
theaters and
were
buildings.
he has a BFA in theater design and technology from SUNY in New York, and he did graduate work course at NYU, and he's done various things related to information technology and theater consulting.
Yeah.
And he's
So he should be a good sort of connector to the COA committee to have with the sort of connect. Basically, he's got some history with it, and we've got a lot of new COA committee members. So the idea is to, with Nick's departure. Oh, yeah, unmuting. Sorry, Janine, I thought you could do that yourself.
Can you hear me?
Hello. Yes, can hear you. Now I
Okay,
forgot what I was
I'll
gonna
wait till
say.
you recognize me. I want to say something when you're done.
Okay. Just because we've got a lot of new COA committee members. So, with Nick's departure, it's good to have another person with some experience besides just Janine.
Sandy went to Clemson University Public Administration graduate certificate. She has a PhD, participated in the PhD program in environmental design and planning. She has studied historic preservation theory. She has participated in programs at Harvard and Duke, and she has some math experience as a math teacher for 2 years. Currently, she's the cloud service availability manager for Genesis Telecommunications Laboratory at the City of the Emperor Boulevard on Durham, RTP. She manages a cloud platform availability for a service provider to management companies.
And can I comment on something here?
All of them.
You guys hear me?
Yes.
Okay, great. I wanted just to make some comments. So I'm excited. There's some new members joining, and especially Curtis, who's got experience that I think will be really valuable for us. I did see a comment somewhere amongst some emails that there may be some training involved for the newest member who has not been a commissioner before. with us. And I wouldn't mind being a part of that. I might suggest maybe if it was sort of mostly on me to help, I guess, give me a little guidance there. And maybe it might be helpful to pull in Curtis too, so that there's two of us kind of sharing some knowledge. And then I wanted to comment that I was not able to attend the DRAC COA meeting that happened a couple weeks ago. I was had a lot of travel glitches that day and wasn't able to join, but I did go back and watch the recorded session in its entirety, which I thought was great. And one comment I had was that, first of all, maybe that could be something we do regularly, maybe annually. I think that was really valuable to come together to review the two commissions. And also another thought I had was just the challenges we have with, I guess, it's the project in the Glenwood Brooklyn overlay, the Hinsdale, I think the street is, that just brought up a lot of reinforcement, kind of after the fact issues with how things are executed after we've given approval and COAs are issued. And I had one thought that maybe it would be something we could kind of kick around, this idea of when commissioners on the COA are given their kind of marching orders of all the cases that are coming up, and we go and do our drive-bys and kind of vet these projects, we could maybe consider adding a project that should have been completed or we'd expect to have been completed, maybe, that finished up a year ago, maybe, or came through a year ago, or however we kind of determine the timing works. And that way, commissioners can kind of drive by and see if it was executed as planned. And that could, I'm thinking, I know we love to see that kind of a hand in hand with our permit department of the city of Raleigh, kind of knowing what's, as they're going out, projects are underway, that things are being done in accordance to what's been approved. But I guess I'm feeling like that's asking a little much. So maybe it's on us to kind of come back and sweep through. And that's just a thought I had that I kind of wanted to share and get some thoughts on that, if that would be kind of a good mechanism for us.
Bouncing off one of your topics real quick, we Tanya and I discussed briefly and others, assigning we weren't going to use the word mentor, mentee, or guide buddy or anything. We're just going to call him a guide. We thought it might be good to maybe not so much Case Bang, because he kind of knows Case Bang. He knows everything more or less, but Sandy's coming in new, figuring out a way, as you suggest, to have someone mentor or guide her or be available for as a part of the training process, to say someone she can call on if she has questions, if she can get a quicker answer from them than regular staff or somebody else. We haven't figured that program out yet.
I think, Gaston, that's what I saw. I think I was copied on one of those thoughts. So I was just following up on that if it's something that I could be helpful, and, feel free to kind of pull me into that. But
I think that'd be great.
I'm not quite sure what it looks like yet, but
we don't know either. So maybe we'll work amongst ourselves to figure it out. I've given her, in this particular case, given that it's one person basically who needs to, and she's quite capable in her resume. It'll be a quick process, not prolonged, but I think it's important to bring people in and pair them up with someone else, even if they only have coffee 2 times and they learn everything they need to know or whatever.
right.
Something more than just
This is Erin. I'll add, when you were reading through the resume, Gaston, I'm not sure that I heard you state that, and I believe I'm correct, that she's already served on a local preservation commission before, somewhere in South Carolina, I think. And since we're set up so differently in Raleigh to have a specific COA committee that is the exception, not the rule, she may have already participated in the COA process.
Well, she did.
Certainly, all new members could use training, and we'll be doing that. But she may not be as, freshman to the scenarios we think. So
And I'll look
we'll
for
find
that.
out, and we'll answer any questions she has. But she may be an asset in that regard,
Yeah.
of her own right. So
She did historical research for the city of Charleston, related to various preservation topics, and I left out a kind of a key piece. She was the city administrator for the city of Chester in Chester, South Carolina. And Chester's small, but Chester has all the moving parts that a bigger city has, and all the things that are involved in it is and as a part of that, blah, 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 blah. She did deal with, she reinstated the certified local government designation with South Carolina State Historic Preservation Office. So she dipped down in as an administrator into restoring historical designation process for Chester. So that's a great observation.
To a couple of your points, Janine, I will include you on my emails about setting up the initial training for Sandy. We will definitely be doing a full COA committee, training retreat thing, but we need to at least get her trained well enough that she can participate in the July meeting. So I will definitely include you on those. And additionally, to the follow-up and having, commissioners, drive by afterwards, that is potentially feasible. I think assuming you get, committee support and interest, I think the mechanism would be y'all would drive by, and then if you see something, staff would then do an official inspection. The way it's supposed to work is, with the permit, with the certificate of appropriateness, and it says this on the blue placard also, that when they're done, they contact us for a final inspection. And that often doesn't get done because there hasn't been enough hours in the day. But we typically would, we go get pictures for the site, or when we used to put out the signs ourselves, no, others does, we would, do a handful of drive-bys. But we can alert you when we get the call or email saying, we're done.
Is it possible I know the agenda for COA is so jam-packed, but maybe somewhere on somebody's agenda, even if it's the full commission, to do just a little baby update of past things, like the COAs, or on the COA's agenda update for anything 90 days older or 60 days older or something, or past, or is there any way to put an item in the agenda without jamming all that up? Or do we just need to do it situationally and try to be more attentive to it?
I think it needs to be situationally.
I think the trickiest part, which, we could always just set a standard time in the future, like Janine suggested, a year out or something, that we would check back in. The trickiest part is that they have a certain time to begin the project before the placard expires. And then as long as they keep working and don't stop for a year at any given moment, they can keep going indefinitely, and the placard is still valid. So we don't really put a deadline on them completing their work, just on beginning their work. And sometimes that project is done, within a year. Sometimes the permitting process is so extensive for them after the COA process that they're just getting started. It can be kind of tricky to nail down these projects are completed unless they contact us, which, like Tanya said, doesn't happen regularly.
Would it be possible for the staff members that shepherd this through the COA, or whoever shepherds it through, to once the COA action is taken, to just tickle themselves for the 6-month mark, just to kind of do whatever they can to find out what's being done, if anything? Just tickle a date on your calendar so it's pops up. It's been 6 months since we did blah, 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 just to think about whether they've had any new information.
Colette, you've been at this longer. What do you think?
Too much more?
Would have hundreds of calendar notifications. It would be an impossible task to keep manage of.
Got it.
Let me chime in. This is
I mean, the
Janine.
plan that we came up with a couple months ago was to have quarterly check-ins with the COA committee, where the committee members would provide us with a list of cases that they would like to follow up on well after the appeals period, potentially when those cases had gotten underway. We haven't yet been able to do that because our agendas have been so long, but that's currently still a thing that we could do.
The July agenda is short. There are 3 cases, am I correct? 4, sorry, 4 cases, so we could potentially discuss this at the end of the next meeting.
Okay.
Janine, but it sounded like you wanted to say something.
I was just going to add, and I know I would have liked for Rashay to join this too and comment, but we all know that we're all very busy, and COA is plenty busy enough definitely don't want to make busy work for staff. I think my thought on what I was proposing was just having applicants just expect that there is a potential kind of, their project will ultimately there's a chance that they'll be looked at. It's almost like, when you pay your taxes and you might be audited, but you probably won't be, but that type of philosophy. And I really am not trying to make this an exhaustive checkup, but just that I know I'd be willing to kind of add one more project to my drive-bys if it was helping us be, accountable. And what I really was trying to also think of is just, not put kind of the burden back on neighbors and other people to kind of bring stuff to us, which is always just not the best way to hear about things.
Is there any way to shift the burden to the applicant on the COA certificate? It's been a while since I've looked at one, but put a paragraph at the bottom, please contact staff member, blah, 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 6 months from the date of this certificate.
Well,
No?
it already says on the placard that contact staff when you're done, or it's not valid.
All right, I don't know. Thank you.
Mhm.
Obviously, I didn't look at it very carefully.
That's okay. It's in small letters.
All right, so we'll alert the COA committee to the interest. I think it's a valid interest. It's kind of closure. I mean, you got these COA things that get rather technical or heated or both. And it would be kind of nice to know, hey, what happened? When we were standing in the parking lot in front of the Lustron house yesterday, I think kind of did a deep dive, and we found the earliest mention of the Lustron house in 2016. It was just an interesting point in time. What else we have today besides rain?
I have a couple of things. First of all, thanks for accommodating my request to move over to community awareness. Research is really fun, but I'm a professional marketer, so I think my skills will probably be put to good use on that side. Also on the Treasury front, I've been in contact with John Henshaw. It's time to file our 990. Tanya, do you know if I couldn't really tell from John's email back if the expectation was for me to do the filing or if he's still doing it, or have you talked to him anymore?
I have not, and I agree with you. That email was a little unclear. I think it is probably time that we meet and do an official handoff. He's been very generous with his time, but I think, I think that needs to be, I think that probably should happen. And maybe, having him walk through doing that with you and me would be a good transition.
Yeah, I agree. He has been super generous with just doing it for the last year, I guess. But yeah, I'm happy to do whatever needs to be done to get trained on doing that. So yeah, I think finding a time to meet with him is a best way to go about it.
Okay, and the other thing, just as I just remembered, I will, on my list of things, y'all haven't had to write a check recently, but I need to get the bank account signatories updated so that the actual officers, are officially on the bank account. So I'll be providing you with some paperwork that needs to be signed that I get to the bank. So typically it's the chair, the vice chair, and the treasurer.
Great.
because vacation time is coming up. It's a joke.
Okay, I'm like, what?
I got it.
I still haven't made it through my first cup of coffee, so.
It's okay. It wasn't a good joke. Anybody else have anything to add to the morning discussion? We're at the half-hour mark. Well, maybe double. Yeah, I know we'll double alert the chairs to be ready to give their reports and all that in the agenda for next week. And so I think we have a wonderful collection of folks with so many skills. One thing to bear in mind, we don't have to decide it today, but looming in my mind is the website and whether that's too big a task for community awareness in and of itself to shepherd that entirely through the process, or whether we need an ad hoc committee that's largely Katie and others on community awareness, but have a dedicated white hot ad hoc committee to address the website issue, because it can be consuming. So just think about that, whether that's the best way to go, to have it like a temporary committee composed of the talents that's across the various committees. And there are decisions to be made. And money to be raised if we make certain decisions. I think we can do it. I'm not so worried about the money part. I'm worried about the best framework for the organization. So. All righty. If there are no other matters, we see we got Aaron's in jail.
That's it from staff.
At the beach. Katie's at work. I'm sitting in a cluttered office. And I left Colette out. Colette looks like she's in a comfortable place with a lot of nicely arranged art on the wall. So, see y'all soon.
Also a cluttered office.
My clutter is hidden down that way. All right. Thank y'all.
Thanks.